If you know me, you know I love cheese. Cheese is one of the greatest food inventions probably ever, because without cheese there'd be no pizza. It comes in all different types, from hard cheddars and soft bries to spicy versions and even one with maggots in it. It is also an extremely versatile food, perfect on its own, but also the ideal complement to almost anything. But is cheese any good for you? We hear so much about how we need to be careful about the fats in our diets, but a recent study has brought the news that cheese lovers around the world have been waiting for. It could actually improve your health if you eat cheese every single day. Now let's talk about cheese a little bit. The earliest evidence that's been found of cheese production dates back to more than 7,000 years ago in Poland, and it's been popular throughout history ever since, probably not as much so in Asia, where everybody is pretty much lactose intolerant. In 2014, more than 18.7 million tons were produced from cow's milk alone, with the US being the biggest producer by far. The US population is also the biggest consumers of cheese, eating an average of 39 pounds per person in 2017. So what is in cheese? To produce cheese, it's mixed with starter cultures of bacteria to encourage the process to begin, and this starts converting the lactose into lactic acid. An enzyme called rennet is also added, and this causes one of the two types of protein from the milk, casein, to curdle. It leaves the other protein, whey, as a watery liquid that's removed. Next, salt is added and the curds are cut into pieces and heated. After more time to separate the remaining whey, they are pressed into molds and then left to age before being ready to eat. An ounce of cheddar cheese contains about 6 grams of saturated fat and around 120 calories. Depending on the type of cheese, it can also contain high levels of sodium, and the regular consumption of these is why cheese is often thought of as being bad for your health. While the presence of calcium can be good for your teeth and bones, it's not beneficial enough to outweigh the negative effects of the other ingredients. So how can cheese actually improve health? The main concern with our diets in the modern world is the high levels of salt that we ingest. According to the American Heart Association, we should have at most 0.08 ounces per day, but recommends we stick to about half of that. Too much salt can lead to problems with blood vessels, and a recent study decided to look at how cheese affects this. To test this, researchers took 11 participants who each exhibits signs of salt-sensitive blood pressure. They were given 4 different dietary regimes that they would follow for 8 days each before trialing the next one. The 4 diets were low salt and no dairy, low salt and high cheese, high salt and no dairy, and high salt and lots of cheese. The one that involved high cheese consumption involved at least 4 servings per day and encouraged multiple different types of cheese. Following the study, the blood vessels of the participants were checked by injecting an enzyme which causes the vessels to relax. They found that the vessels struggled to relax after the high salt and no dairy diet, which suggests that the high intake of salt was preventing them from functioning properly. Following the diet with high salt and high cheese, however, this effect was not seen, which implies that something about the consumption of cheese was protecting them despite cheese itself containing salt as well. The preliminary findings therefore showed that regular consumption of cheese can help to counteract the problematic effects of salt intake, which can lead to a healthier cardiovascular system and ultimately a healthier life. Now, this does not mean you should start eating tons of salt and cheese, though, because these are just early results that are only based on 11 participants. This isn't enough of a sample to infer the implications for the whole population, so further studies are needed before full effects can be known. So while the initial findings seem promising, there's still some way to go before you have free reign to eat as much cheese as you want. Even if it is found to counteract high salt levels, it would still be preferable to keep your salt intake low and eat cheese in moderation as well. Unless you live in New York and pizzas are $1 a slice and are absolutely divine.